quorum, don't we?
We do have a quorum, so
Okay.
if the others want to come.
All right. Well, it is the appointed hour. I will call to order the November 21st meeting of the Riverfront Redevelopment Authority. Item 2 is items from the chairman, and I don't have anything. 3 is the minutes from the last meeting. Do we have any changes or correction? If I get a motion. Cast your vote. Okay, and that passes. Item 4 is the consent docket. We have the oil and gas revenue report, the river corridor events update, and an amended, limited, revocable rowing and paddle practice use permit with the River Sport Foundation. This is needed to allow them to use the western basin for their rowing activities while the eastern basin is drained for the construction work that we're going to have going on. So I believe the amendment says until, I think, a date in May maybe, or when the eastern basin fills back up, whichever comes first. Do we have any questions on the consent docket? Need a motion?
I'll vote yes.
Cast your vote. That passes. Item 5 is the primary agenda items. Item A is the river project summary. Starting to get some work going on down there.
Yes, we are. Good afternoon, Jeff Shumway, Oklahoma City Public Works. For our summary for November, we've issued multiple work orders within the anticipated eastern basin draining. So a lot of bank stabilization, sediment removal, some other improvements. Those will soon to start upon the actual draining of the river. Our river crews removed approximately 20 tons of debris throughout the month of October. And the Public Works Stormwater Quality Division responded to a diesel spill estimated of about 17,000 gallons. Due to the complexity of this spill, multiple environmental companies were able to come in and address the situation. This area ran from approximately Reno down to Portland Avenue, impacting 7 miles of the river. On November 8th, all the containment and cleanup measures had been completed enough so that we were able to open the river back to the Meridian Landing for embark. And currently, the cleanup efforts continue with the federal, state, and local agencies. Also, one other project, this has also been ongoing, MB 1593 is our Public Works River Maintenance Facility. We're starting to move along with that pretty well, and we anticipate the completion of that in February.
Refresh my memory on what that's needed. Why is that needed? What's it going to be used for?
That'll actually house the remainder of the staff, management staff as well. So starting to become its own independent thing.
Good. Any questions on the maintenance report? Need a motion? Thank you. Cast your vote. That item passes. Item B is the MAPS project update.
Mr. Chairman, trustees, thank you for the opportunity to present to you on behalf of the MAPS office. I'm Jim Shepard. I'm a senior project manager with the MAPS office, and David's asked me to give this presentation to you today. What I'm going to be presenting is the pedestrian bridge. part of MAPS 4, the pedestrian bridge was a part of the river enhancements that we were to do down there. I'm excited about this because this is the first MAPS 4 project on the river. I've been associated with 5 other MAPS projects on the river, so I'm no stranger to down there, but this is an exciting one. The pedestrian bridge is roughly 484 feet long. It's going to have 5 different piers that come up that support the bridge. They're going to be roughly 100 feet apart. We're still in the, well, we're just finishing up with the plan stage, and I'll go over the schedule with you here in just a minute. But this is going to actually come to rest down by the new O'Connor Hotel, and it's going to connect the north and the south banks. It's also right there by the Embark boat landing, and we've got a lot of coordination with this because we've got FAM involved, we've got the O'Connor involved, we've got the Riverfront Authority involved, we've got the City of Oklahoma City Permitting Department involved, plus we've got the Corps of Engineers involved. This next slide is a little detailed. It kind of gives you an idea from the bottom picture does for sure of what the bridge is going to look like from the side. You'll see that it's got 6 different pilings that come up and actually support the bridge until it gets to the banks. And again, like I said, each of those are separated by about 100 to 105 feet. And the total length of the bridge is 484 feet, 2 inches. Next slide. This again is another detail. It kind of shows what the typical trail reconstruction is going to look like where we join in, because this will connect with the trail. And we've got some grade issues down there that we've been dealing with. As a matter of fact, we've recently just lowered the bridge by a foot to just to get this to all work out once we get to the banks. We've been reassured that everything will clear as far as the boats and everything that go underneath it, and this has been run past everybody involved. So I think we're good to go with this, and this gives us an opportunity to meet ADA compliance on those ramps. Okay, this is a really good shot of what the bridge will look like from a bird's eye perspective. On the south bank, you see, which is on the left, you see where the ramp comes down. There are 3 different landings on that ramp to help flatten it out enough to be ADA compliant. It's right there by the new Embark boat dock, and then the O'Connor Hotel right there as well. The trail, it will connect to the trail there, and then on the north side of the river, you can see where it's going to come down and connect over there. The bottom part of that was just a cross section. This slide is a little bit more detail about maybe the contour of the bottom of the river and the pilings, how they'll be driven in and that kind of thing. It's really almost too detailed for me. I'm not an engineer. I do a lot of good stuff with bricks and sticks, but this is what we have good consultants for. Okay, this is a conceptual picture of the aesthetics of the pedestrian bridge. It's roughly 20 feet wide from the inside of the handrails to the inside of the handrails. The handrail itself will be lit, so it'll broadcast light down on the bridge itself, so at night it'll give it a really pretty appearance setting over the water there. The piers themselves, as they come up, they will have medallions on them, much like what you see on some of the ODOT bridges, only these will be the FAM and the O'Connor medallions that will fit that environment very, very well. Below the deck of the bridge, there'll be lighting that's broadcast down on those medallions, so at night you'll have that lighting that's shining down on the medallions themselves, along with the handrail lighting that's on the bridge, so it'll really stand out. Due to budget restrictions, we didn't show some of the amenities that we're hoping that can be done to it in the future. But the budget for this project is combined with the dam, the amphitheater, and the beautification. And you'll see in a minute what my total budget is and what I'm spending on just the bridge. So we had to really kind of go about this in a bare bones perspective and hope that we can come back and add some more amenities to it down the road. The decorative panels on the side of the bridge themselves, those are going to go out in a secondary effort. The LED light poles and handrail lighting, the accent lighting, there's lighting that broadcasts from the bottom of the handrail, but there's also accent lighting that can go with the handrail. And then the light poles themselves, there'll be 18 of those that go across the bridge. A minute ago, I mentioned the fact that we've got a host of folks that are involved with the approval and permitting process of this. The U.S. Corps of Engineers, we've got the 408 and the 404 permits. One just deals strictly with the elevation and how we're affecting the elevations along the riverbanks, and the other one deals with how we're affecting the downstream part of the river, that we're not going to create any problems downstream. The City of Oklahoma City building permit was required because we're tying steel and pouring concrete. We're going to have electrical out there and all of that good stuff. Plus, we had to get an address for the bridge. So that's part of the permitting process. Then we had the CLOMAR, which is the letter of the map revision, and then the scenic overlay district approval. This last slide, or this next to the last slide, is our timeline. And with city projects, you typically don't see a timeline that's this crunched. We literally have gone out to bid for the steel back in February. So the steel's already been purchased, it's already been manufactured, and it's ready for delivery. One of the key components of this is to try to time this to where we finish this bridge in conjunction with the completion of the O'Connor Hotel. And able to do that with the restrictions that we've had due to the supply chain issues, we had to go out and procure the steel in advance. So we've done that. It's sitting in Ardmore, ready for delivery. And once we go out to bid and a contractor selected, they'll deliver it to the site, and the contractor will take possession of the steel at that point. But as you can see on the final plans, we're doing my office on the 17th, which I received them on the morning of the 18th, and we had planned that out anyway. A neighborhood subcommittee will go to them on December the 5th. Citizens Advisory Board will go on the 7th of December, and hopefully with approval from those two committees, we'll go to City Council with 100% plans for approval on the 19th. If that's approved by council, we'll begin advertising for bid on the 19th, or the 20th, I'm sorry. We'll receive bids in the city clerk's office on the 11th of January, and with a good bid, we will move forward at that point. It'll go to the neighborhood subcommittee with the low bidder on the 30th of January, Citizens Advisory Board on February the 1st, go back to City Council on the 13th of February for a contract award. And by then, we should be completed with the Corps of Engineers process. We've been running those simultaneously. So hopefully by the March 1st, we have a permit from the Corps of Engineers. Team Design has been working diligently with the Corps of Engineers, and they started this early in the process. So this permitting stage has been going on well before we got really to the point of a good design. But the Corps worked with us, and they've been very, very kind to do so, because they typically don't do this. But this was an effort to allow us to get ourselves in a position where we'd have time enough to build this bridge in order for it to be done at the time the hotel's done. We've got a project completion date of November the 4th. And I'll just say, with the way this construction's going to have to take place, because this is all going to have to be done off of barges, I'm assuming that I'll be very, very happy if we can hit November 4th, but I do think that we'll hit the end of the year, which is really the key date anyway, so we can have it ready for that O'Connell opening. Then once the project is complete, we'll take it to Neighborhood Subcommittee, Citizens Advisory Board, and City Councils, all for final acceptance. And like I said, the O'Connell Hotel opens on January 1st, supposedly at this point, provided they don't have any delays. This last slide is our proposed budget. The base bid for this project right now is coming in at $6,887,754. We purchased the steel already for $1,067,468, which brings the total cost of construction for this pedestrian bridge to $7,955,222. The program budget for the bridge, the dam, the amphitheater, and the beautification was $9,665,000, and that leaves us with approximately $1.7 million. There are two alternates that are identified in this, and it's the light poles and banner arms and the decorative beam panels, should this bid come in under budget. It's been my experience over the last 3 years, we've not seen anything come in under budget. But we can always cross our fingers and hope. And that's all I have for you today, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I have a couple. Do you know yet what you're going to do for the 1% for MAPS project?
It's already in process, but we do not know what that project's actually going to be yet. Randy has been working with artists, and he's also been working with the Parks Department to try to identify what we want to do there for sure, but I know that's in process.
Okay. Did I catch in your presentation that the south side of the river, it will not be at grade, so you need ramps to come down off of it?
Yeah, the grade, and we even lowered the bridge a foot to try to accommodate this. What the original design showed a switchback for ADA, and that's a nightmare. Plus, it didn't leave us any way to get serviceable vehicles on the bridge when we need to do maintenance and things like that. So we went back and we looked at this in every way we could, and the only way that we could get there was really to lower the bridge by as much as we could, and we actually lowered it 11 inches. That 11 inches allowed enough room for us to extend that ramp out, and there are 3 landings on that ramp that allow us to get the grade that we need for ADA, because we've got to be in ADA compliance for folks in wheelchairs and stuff.
But the north side hits at grade evidently?
The north side's going to require a little bit of work, but we're going to be able to make it tie-in fun.
Okay, and one last question on your timeline.
Yes, sir.
Are we back to the concept of getting the piers in before the basin gets filled back up, and then you'll work off barges?
There's no way that we can do that.
So the basin's going to be drained longer than
No.
we thought?
No, that's the reason for the barges. Once Public Works and everybody gets done with what they're doing on the river, they've got to refill it, because we're going to be well into the river sports timeline at that point. So to prevent any problems for the river sports and Mike, we made the decision that we would go with the barge approach to construct this bridge.
So all the work is going to be done with
Yeah.
water in the basin?
And that's actually about $2 million of our overall cost. But there was just no way to get the steel procured, get the contractor on board, get through all the permitting with the Corps of Engineers and everybody that we had to go through, and get there in time to hit that small window when the river's going to be down. That was the goal originally. it was just unachievable.
And you just said having to work with water in the basin was added another 2 million to the bid, you think?
It does, because we have to work off the barges. If we didn't have the water in the basin, then we could, not have to have the barges. But the problem exists now that would put us almost a full year, behind the hotel opening. And I think the decision was made that it was better to spend the money and get that in place and have everything operational when that hotel opened, and that just keeps everybody happy, and the public has an even better experience at that point.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I do have a question. Can you go back to explaining what the pier medallions are? Because I'm not familiar with what you were referencing with ODOT.
I wish I had included some imagery of that. As you drive down the interstate, you'll see, from time to time, you'll see a buffalo on the side of a bridge or whatnot. And ODOT usually puts insignias up there. Now, these aren't going to be near that big. They'll be about 6 foot. But the FAM logo is one of them that's been chosen, and it's just the FMA, and I'm sure you've seen it before. And then the other one is a Native American symbol that's going to go up there that's going to represent the tribes.
How were those chosen?
Those were chosen with cooperation of the tribes and the First American, as well as with David Todd. And we started off with 8 or 9, and we quickly pulled those back. Typically, on a project like this, you'd try to go with 1. It just didn't make sense to go with 1, so we're going to stagger these to where everybody's, both of those are represented. And to do anything more complex than that was just going to get real expensive real fast. So that's kind of why we ended up where we did.
I guess I'm asking because I think my curiosity is, well, and I guess I will ask too, like, how expensive is it to do those versus just not doing them?
Well, if we do them, if we do the ones that we've selected when we do the bridge, it's not terribly expensive. If we wait till after the bridge is constructed and then we have to come back and place those, it gets pretty expensive pretty fast then, because those are heavy, they're made out of concrete. And to get those placed over the water and all, I mean, it would require another barge more than likely just to set those.
I guess I'm curious because I feel a little bit of tension in the idea that there are like particular amenities related to lighting and stuff that are being kind of put on the back burner, where something that's just like sounds purely decorative and in my mind is like referencing these other private entities that are not like the people who paid for this bridge to be constructed. I just kind of curious about like that kind of conversation about the priorities of something sort of that sounds very purely decorative over some of the like light poles and banners are also somewhat decorative, but it also could like reference, those to me also say they could reference like FAM, Native, Indigenous community related things, but also provide that extra like public amenity of the lighting. And so I'm curious about this, the conversation.
No, I agree
there.
100%. When we actually got the MAPS 4 initiative and we got the breakdown of everything, we started looking and they were prioritized. And to be quite honest with you, I don't know if that was ADG that prioritized those or who prioritized them. But I know that the Chickasaws were heavily involved in what they felt were going to be the priorities for these projects. The pedestrian bridge was obviously the number 1 priority, and the dam was number 2. The amphitheater was number 3, and the beautification was number 4. As far as the lighting and stuff, if you'll notice, those are actually listed. We're going to send those out with the bid as alternates. And if something happens that we get a favorable enough number back, then we're gonna go ahead and pick those alternates up. It's just that we have to save some money back to do the dam at least. The intent is to try to get the dam in and then, do something as far as the amphitheater goes. It's not gonna, I don't think there's gonna be enough money there to do a full-blown amphitheater. But I do believe that there's enough money there to probably get the bridge and the dam in. And those are the important elements of this.
Okay, thank
Because
you.
we can always build an amphitheater and sod it and do it just a sod amphitheater with a concrete pad at the bottom, rather than a full-blown covered pavilion.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
And just for, make sure everybody understands, when he keeps saying the dam, he's talking about the low water dam
Yes, sir.
downstream. That's a new dam, not the dam repairs for the Eastern Avenue dam.
That's correct. And
another
this-
project.
And the low water dam won't be hydraulic or anything like that. It'll be, and I hate to use this example, but it's a good one that everybody can actually associate with. It's much like a pond dam, only it'll have riffraff and all that good stuff on it.
Okay. Any more questions? Thank you, appreciate that report.
Thank you.
Need a motion to accept that report, please? Cast your vote. And that passes. Item C is a Riverfront Authority schedule of cash receipts and disbursements for the period ending September 30th. Any questions on that? Motion. Can't you vote? That passes. Item D is a management and operation agreement with Lost Lakes LLC to use our property near Sunny Lane Road from just south of 10th Street to 23rd Street, in conjunction with his adjacent private property. This is a renewal of what we've been doing with Lost Lakes. We've only done a year in the past, I believe, but this one is for 2 years. So no changes in the items in the agreement, I don't believe. Is that correct, David? Any questions on that? Roger's in the audience. Roger, we appreciate you working with that. No, I said, we appreciate you working on the agreement, so you're okay.
Yeah, I'm ready to go with it, signed it. Give you an update on our event this weekend. We're anticipating having about 300 riders. Everything's going smooth at the property. Public Works came out, I think Tuesday of last week, and I toured him on the property, and he was satisfied. And I think he's coming back sometime this week to double check and make sure everything is good to go.
Okay.
And I will say that the gate that I guess the city or the trust put up on the north side of 23rd Street, and then the work they've done on that asphalt road that goes to that oil lease toward 36th Street, and they've done some dirt work and trenched it out. That's made my life so much easier. The traffic and the dumping and everything is just almost down to zero. So thank you.
Okay. Very good. We try. Okay. Any questions on the agreement? Need a motion. Cast your vote. That passes. Item E is a resolution ratifying Chairman Marr's submission of a letter of support for bridge investment program with the federal government, the DOT. Multimodal connections on Interstate 35 over the river. Once again, I signed a letter that to help state DOT try to get that grant, and we got it back in on a timeline, so now you have to bless what I did. Motion? Cast your vote. Okay. Item 6 is claims docket. Any questions? Motion? Okay. That passes. Item 6 is comments from staff. We have the Park and Recreation Director's report.
Good afternoon, everybody. Melinda McMillan Miller, Director of Parks and Recreation. I don't really have anything to expound upon in your report. I do want to make sure that the next time you're out on the North and South River Trail or West River Trail, I hope you look up and kind of notice there's some new trail lighting. Solar lights have been installed on those 3 sections of our trails. They're up, they're working, so let us know if you see them. They are solar. They have 2-phase illumination, so they dim when there is not detected movement, and when the movement is detected, they brighten up. So kind of a cool little technology we're starting to use throughout our entire trail system and a lot of parks and park parking lots. So anyway, hope you enjoyed those. If there are any questions for me?
Any questions?
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Need a motion to accept that? That passes. Item 8 is comments by trustees. I will say, with all the discussion going on with projects, I want to, actually, I'm going to make sure I'm clear on it, and hopefully get you that way too. He talked about the bridge project and the amphitheater and stuff. The landing is a COTPA project, is that correct? I say COTPA, Embark project. The work around the Zone G wall is just a project of the city, River Trust, so to speak, along with the repairs on the eastern dam. Is that correct? So that's the projects that are going on, not counting the low water dam downriver.
Yes, that's correct. So we have the work happening right at the, we call it Bricktown Landing, or there along the river next to the Chesapeake Boathouse. That's all being done with Public Works. Well, we're just taking advantage of the fact that the basin's lowered.
Right.
So we've had some outstanding repair items we needed to do that just were not doable until that water level went down. So we're getting some long overdue repairs made. We're really excited for and making some really great improvements along that whole area.
But the repairs on Zone G and the repairs on the dam, the eastern dam itself will all be done before we put the water back in, hopefully?
I'm not sure about Eastern Dam. That would be a good Jess question. But I don't try to ever understand what Jess does all day long. It's too complicated.
It's hard to hold the button.
It's hard to hold.
Yes, absolutely. All those projects were Public Works, and they're funded. And then we'll also be trying to complete those prior to re-impounding the water.
Okay. And Embark's gonna be working on the landing at the same time the water's down?
That's my
No,
understanding.
that'll come later on.
That's my understanding.
I believe that's going to be coming later on. They'll be working on those 2 projects, I guess somewhat simultaneously. But those projects will also be completed with water impounded.
Okay. Well, 2 things are gonna happen. Sometimes all those change, and I'll sleep a couple of times, so bear with me when I keep asking about it.
Takes a village.
Any other items from trustees? Any citizens to be heard? Hey, Mike.
Good afternoon. It's Mike Knopf with River Sport. I want to just mention that we did have a very successful holiday river parade. It was earlier this year to be in front of the river draining. It was coinciding with our Youth League Championship this year where we christened a whole fleet of boats, thanks to Mercy, which was really great, but we had, that led into the boat parade. But I did want to mention that the Grand Marshal was Pat Downs, and we wanted to recognize Pat for all his years and years of work on the Riverfront redevelopment project, and frankly worked with me for so many years on really trying to bring the Boathouse District to life. So we had a huge crowd. The skiing elves people who were there said that's the largest crowd they can remember seeing. So we think we're on to something with this earlier date, so that will likely be something we continue. And it's warmer too, typically at that time. So, all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other citizens? We are adjourned.